Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. It's been a while and I just wanted to go through my eyeshadow palette collection because I've gained some fun stuff over the past 6 months. So I just wanted to go through them with you. So here is my first palette ever. This is the Urban Decay Naked one. It's really freaking old. It's from 2012 and that is about 9 years ago. Anyways, I just really keep this for a sentimentality. It's a really beautiful palette. It's my first palette, my first foray into like more colorful, complex makeup. So I'm going to keep this guy. Actually, this is not a declutter. It's really, I'm keeping all of these, but I just wanted to go through them with you guys. Here we are with some of my older palettes. This is, kind of before I had a reawakening in myself for eyeshadow. A lot of these are from like a few years ago in like, the early 2010s, mid 2010s. So there was a period of time where I didn't really buy any eyeshadow at all. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Self-Made palette. I think I got this on sale. It's a pretty fun, fun palette with a lot of different shades, lots of different colors. I've really enjoyed, the plums, this deep purple. It really lends itself to a fun neutral look, but it does have like a pop of green here that's kind of fun. I've used this maybe twice, but the whole palette I've used at least, two handfuls of times. So it's not something I use super often. The formula is fine. I don't have other Natasha Denona palettes, so this is my only one. I've thought about getting other ones, but it's just not been a priority. But I'm going to keep this one just for fun. We have a couple of Tarte palettes here. This is the Tartelette Tease, which is a great cool-toned little travel ditty. Hello, cats. Really nice, like kind of creamy scent to it. Scent still hasn't gone away. Same can be said about the Tartelette in Bloom. My cat is getting in the way. Okay, Hopper. Okay, Hopper. Yeah. But anyways, I really like this one as something just to have around, have some matte options, and if I'm using a colorful palette, this kind of ties it down and makes it a little more everyday. So this is really nice, even though it's really old. And this is the big sister. This is the Tartelette in Bloom. So as you can see, this is a really wonderful color story. I forgot about this palette for a long time, and I recently opened it up again. I was like, this is like exactly what I want out of a, like a neutral palette. It's a little rosy, a little bit of mauve, some taupes. It's really, really wonderful. So if anybody's thinking about buying this, definitely don't hesitate. It's a nice price point. I think it's prevents a lot of really nice options in terms of cooler to neutral toned eyeshadow. So I would say that my favorite colors of this one, this is kind of a taupey purpley gray rocker, and then underneath this firecracker is a more coppery bronzy shimmer shadow, and then all of the mattes really work well together. I have a lot of great things to say about this, and I'm definitely going to keep this. Probably would buy another one if I ran out of a few shades that I really liked. I know people aren't super into Tarte nowadays, but this is still a really great palette. Next one I have, this is a limited edition Energy Noir clay palette. As you can see that I love cool tone palettes, so a lot of these will be cool tones. So it's a purple, mauve, gray toned selection here. It also has a blush that's really beautiful, still extremely creamy. This is that Tarte Amazonian clay formula. And then this can be used as a highlight or as a eyeshadow. If you love a purple, cool tone, grayish eye look, this is like one of the first cool tone eyeshadow palettes that I have ever used, and I still love it. It's that same kind of formula as the Tartelette in Bloom. So these are two more independent random palettes I've had for a long time. Let's go with this one. This is the Ciate London Lovia Palermo palette. As you can see, it's got some very nice luxe looking packaging, kind of this plastic texture is more leathery. This is, I think probably doesn't exist anymore, but it's a nice jewel toned palette. I got a while ago. I think my problem with this is that even though the colors look really vibrant when swatched, they don't really show up super well in the eye. They kind of end up grayish on my eyes. So it's still a cute palette. I haven't couldn't get myself to part ways with it yet. As you can see, it's it's got a nice sheen to it. All the colors are kind of like a satin, but it's a little patchy. It's not the best formula. So that's that one. And here's an underrated, super awesome palette from Persona Cosmetics. This is the original Identity palette. In the old packaging, they have new packaging nowadays. Mine is very dirty. Basically comes with this nice selection of deeper, I would say, shades of browns and taupes and a variety of really great shimmers. The whole thing is really awesome. I don't have enough time to say all the great things I want to say about it, but all in all, I think the shimmer formula is really one of the best, the finest, and really creamy compared to any other formula I've tried so far. So this is my oldest ColourPop palette. The rest are kind of more recent acquisitions, but this is the Fame palette. This is kind of their first cool tone palette they've come out with. And I really, really like it. The formula is really great. The shimmers are really fine. They're not super chunky. The mattes go well with it. I think the only problem I have with this is that there's not a medium deep shade between this kind of color and this kind of color that I can use to diffuse and clean things up and things like that. So, and all the shades kind of look very similar, on the eyes and really in the pans. I'm not complaining because they're all really beautiful, but I don't reach for this often because it's really only a limited number of looks I can come up with. Next we come to the smaller, more recent neutral palettes. This is the Going Coconuts, which is very popular on YouTube nowadays. It's a very kind of neutral, slightly leaning cool eyeshadow palette that I really felt the need to get because it was just such a perfect spot in the range of neutrals. And it does fulfill that role. The only one I have trouble with a little bit is this Get Crackin' one. It does, whenever you touch a brush to it, it just the powder flies everywhere. And then the shimmers, I would say that these shimmers are chunkier, they're glitterier than the ones in the Fame palette. I think their formula is a little bit different. It's just a different type of eyeshadow. The color story is absolutely wonderful and I really enjoy it. Next we have my taupe. That's Taupe palette. I think I have the same feelings about this palette's formula as I do the Going Coconuts palette, in that the shimmers are chunky. And I'm not a chunky shimmer person. I think it has uses, and as you'll see, I have many other palettes that have chunky shimmers as well, and I enjoy them. But I think given that there's no choice, so all of them are chunky. And then this one here, called Cold Blooded, is really kind of a topper shade, and so is this Super Shock shadow on this side called Slated. But all of the colors actually look really beautiful together. It's kind of a grungier tone compared to the Going Coconuts. So let me compare for you here. So as you can see here, much grungier on the That's Taupe palette. This one has a little more of a warmer, pinkier shift to it, and That's Taupe is much more gray and more earth tones. So I really like both of these. I think I like the That's Taupe better because the grungier shades are more my jam than the Going Coconuts. And I would say that I love pairing this palette with some of my kind of bronzy golden cream shadows, where I will lay that down all over the eyelid and then kind of deepen the crease and with some shades in here, and then put a pop of color using one of the chunky shimmers. So it's really nice combination for an easy going to work but slightly fancier look that you can actually amp up later on with some additional deep shades if you want to go out later that night, if we ever go out ever again. So now we move on to these guys. But this is the Bare Necessities palette. It's truly beautiful. I would say that it's definitely leaning warm. It's a palette that I've used quite a bit so far that I've enjoyed. I'm not a warm tone eyeshadow person per se, but it has pushed me to try to use these more. And I was able to make like a nice pinky orangey look that was kind of fun. It really does have a nice array of very dark to very light shadows with a cool row at the top and with some mauves on the side and some orangey bronzy shades in this corner over here. I would say the same thing about this kind of newer ColourPop formula where the shimmers are kind of hit or miss in terms of how fine the powder is. So many of these are actually chunkier, but then such as Silk Teddy is a very chunky kind of shimmer shadow, which is actually really beautiful, swatched really beautifully, but on the eyes when you want to sheer it out, it gets a little chunky and patchy. But then Rumored is a little finer, and it spreads out a little bit better than some of the other shades. So it's kind of hit or miss, but I think overall the quality and the amount of work I'm willing to put in to get an eyeshadow look out of this palette, they match pretty well. So I don't feel like I'm working extra hard to get what I want. So definitely like this one. I think That's Taupe is still better than this, but this gives me more variety. And in combination with the Stone Cold Fox palette, which is their cooler sister, this one I was just like, I freaked out when I saw it because I was really excited about cool tones. But it turns out I actually like the Bare Necessities better. I think it does have a nice array of different, color schemes within the Cool family. It's got some bronzes, it's got some golds, some pinks, some mauves, some sandy colors, and grays, of course. But everything kind of leans in that kind of sandy gray color vibe. It's been a little bit harder to portray a more defined eye look using this shadow. Everything just kind of looks like you turned like the adjustment on your camera to like a very gray toned. There's like a filter on this, and basically that everything is gray. Not that I don't like the color scheme, I really like it, but it takes me a little work to figure out how to use this shadow so that it looks more defined, because everything kind of muddies together. And I find it is a problem that I do have with cooler tone palettes, that things kind of muddy up. But that being said, these two together I think makes like such a great neutral palette combination. Just looking at this makes me happy. I think I can probably use both at the same time would be the most ideal to be able to make the most out of these shadows, and just create a relatively more neutral eyeshadow look. So definitely like really enjoying these so far. Stone Cold Fox needs a little extra time for me to figure out how to use it best, for sure. So let's do these luxurier, slightly more expensive ones, and then we'll go down in price. So I have these three Charlotte Tilbury quads with me. I have them in Bella Sophia, Golden Goddess, and Exaggerize. So put them here for you guys. This is the Exaggerize, this is the Bella Sophia, and this is the Golden Goddess. So I think my favorite is this. Exaggerize is number 1, this one's number 2, and then the Golden Goddess is number 3. Mostly because the Golden Goddess one is a little bit gray for my liking. It's like a theme, it's hard to get a defined look. All the shades kind of end up looking very similar on the eye once I start using them. The Bella Sophia is really great. I do find the pop shade a little bit too dark. It's kind of like a fun copper. And it has no base shade, which is I'm fine with, because the pop shades are fun. To layer on, but I think this is a better combination of colors for me. It's also slightly cool, but it's got some, there's dimension, different levels of light and dark. Is that, and then the pop shade really complements the rest of the eyeshadow really well. So those are my 3 Charlotte Tilbury ones. I do enjoy them. I think the mattes are kind of dry, or the satin shades are kind of dry, but I do like how fine the satin and the shimmers are in these palettes because they lend themselves to a more sophisticated, less chunky, glittery look. Less party and more workday, and which is when I use most of my eyeshadows. I spend most of my time at work. So next I have these 2 Dior Quints. This is in Tutu, and this one is in Soft Cashmere. These are 2 pretty popular ones that have been, you know, reviewed many a time. I think I'm still in the process of learning about them, trying to figure out what's the best way to use them, but I do enjoy both of them. I like the Tutu a lot because of the purple color right here. The shadows are really soft and really beautiful. They don't last super long on the eye. They do not last nearly as long on the eye as the Charlotte Tilbury does. But then again, the shadow formula is like really completely different. I don't really tend to use eyeshadow primer per se, because it's just an extra step and I can't be bothered, honestly, putting more stuff on my eyelids. Soft Cashmere I really enjoy. Sometimes I do find that these shades kind of blend together into one kind of grayish, brownish, bronzy mess, but I do appreciate that this matte right here is really nice and is able to add dimension, and this deep purple is really nice. It's like almost a black. So I really enjoy both of these immensely so far. I've only used maybe each of these less than 10 times, but I do enjoy how sophisticated they look on my eyes once I'm done with the look. I think my only gripe with these palettes is that these 2 white shades, I guess, these kind of shimmery pinky shades, they really have no base pigment. They're also like a topper shade, kind of like the Charlotte Tilbury ones, but they just, like, I wish they were not, I guess they were, I wish they were just like a regular whitish, beigey color I can put all over my eyes as a priming color. They look beautiful in the pan, but they're just so powdery. A little bit of a dud, but I mean, it doesn't take away from how beautiful the rest of the shades are. These are expensive, so I can see how that may be a problem for people. So our next little palette, this is the Rowan. This is that really fun, kind of creamy, almost wet formula. And these are like really tiny, tiny shadows. Like they're like ColourPop size, basically. So this is the 52 degree one. It's got like a gray gunmetal, a bronze, a slightly pinkier bronze, I guess, and then like a light champagne pink. I haven't had too much of a chance to play with these. I have trouble playing with these in a way that I can combine multiple shades in this palette into one eye look. Some people do that, but I think for me, for ease of use, would be just like weekend, all over the eye, wet shimmer kind of effect, especially in the summer. I think for the winter time, I'm kind of like skipping over this for now, just because it's not quite, you know, the texture I'm looking for in an eyeshadow. But these are really fun, and I hear a lot of people like the 1111 one, which is the new one that they've come out with. So let's move on to the M Cosmetics Divine Skies Magic Hour. If I can ever get this open. Oh my goodness. Eyeshadow palette. So this is a fun little hexagon palette by M Cosmetics, which is Michelle Phan's brand. This color scheme is awesome. I've never been a huge fan of warm pinks and oranges, but like this is my foray into that. And I figure if I was going to foray into that, I would pick something that was nice quality, that people liked, so that it doesn't, you know, color my view of warm tone shadows and pink shadows. And the looks I've been able to create with this has been really, really fun. Very youthful, very springy, so I really enjoy that aspect of this palette. The packaging is so darn cute. The shadows and shimmers are not chunky at all. They're very fine, which I do love a lot. It makes for, again, a more sophisticated day look, and doesn't, like, provide too much shimmer that I can't deal with. So yeah, this is definitely a fun palette. Have no regrets about getting this one. Here we have some baby eyeshadows from e.l.f. I got these recently. This one I've had for a little while. This is less time. This one's in Rosewater. This is in Cream and Sugar. These palettes people raved about. They're only $3, obviously, and I think the shimmers are really nice. They're really creamy. They're a little chunkier and thicker than I want them to be, but they have a nice quality to them. For $3, the shimmers are really solid. They each have both a matte, 2 mattes, and 2 shimmers. This one actually has like a matte with infused glitter, which, if you swipe it hard enough, you can get the glitters off and just leave the matte color. But I find this one, the Cream and Sugar, to be a good complement palette, similar to the Tarteless Tease, to more colorful palettes, in order to kind of tamper down a look or just to control it a little bit better with, mattes and more neutral shimmers. I mean, you can argue that you can do that with any palette that's got a nice number of mattes in it. So I like these. I like the looks that have come out of these. They just, obviously, they're 4 shades. There's not a lot of variety coming out of them, but they serve a good purpose. Would I say they're better than ColourPop? Yeah, I think these shimmers are better than ColourPop's. I like them better. Now we move on to some of my more pricey palettes that are bigger. So just to kind of tell you guys, I still have, I think, 3 palettes in the mail yet to arrive. One of them is another Pat McGrath 10-pan Mothership palette, which is the Subversive. I also have the Huda Beauty Nude Light 9-pan little palette, which Sephora just emailed me, told me it wasn't going to show up till March 1st, which is like 2+ weeks from when I originally ordered it, but that's okay. And then I also have the Viseart Paris Edit palette coming in as well. But these are definitely more recent acquisitions. So my more recent acquisition, let's put these in order here. So this is Natasha Denona Glam palette. This is their medium-sized palette. It's like their huge hit with the cool tones. Absolutely fucking love this thing. So excuse my language. I'm sorry you have kids watching with you, but this thing is just really beautiful. This is my first Natasha Denona palette. I have no regrets. The moment I saw this palette online when it came out on Sephora, I just clicked, add to cart, and there was no like extra thought about it. But anyway, so this is just really great. It's a little hard to see on camera, but this top row is more pinky, middle row more gray, bottom row more bronzy golden. And it's kind of got a lot of shimmers. It's got 10 shimmers and then 5 mattes, which is a ratio that I do enjoy. I like having more shimmers than mattes. It's got a nice array of mattes, from very dark to very light, and then you have a nice array of dark shimmers to very, very light sparkly shimmers. And all of these shimmers are so freaking fine. They look so demure and classy and not chunky on the eyelids. It just like suits my craving for cool neutral tones. And this is something that I think that kind of launched more of a revolution so far. I guess not revolution, a trend, a pattern within makeup companies to make more cool tone palettes, because they recognize that, like, oh, people actually do want cool tones. And like for people like me, this is a great moment in history because all the cool tone palettes are coming out. So and I would say this is cool tone leaning, but like you still have warm options. You have this like golden shimmer here. You have, this is slightly warm leaning, this is slightly warm leaning. So enough about the Glam palette. This is like one of my most seminal purchases in my makeup life, secondary to only the Naked palette, which is my first larger palette. Then we move on in timeline to the Charlotte Tilbury Bejeweled Eyes to Hypnotize. This is a stunning holiday palette from this year, or not this year, 2020. It's got like, beautiful, rosy, purpley, and then like a cool brown on the side here. This is her like 12 pan. They come in sections of 3, and they've got these like cute little names for them, where you can use them as sets of 3 for one eye look, or you can just like obviously mix and match because it's a whole palette. And this shimmer formula is so opaque, so fine, basically like a metallic sheen on your eyes. It's like, but like super opaque. Like it literally just like one swipe, you can cover an entire eyelid with one color that is smooth, wet looking, and just absolutely beautiful. I think this is my favorite shimmer formula. Very similar to the Persona Cosmetics Identity palette I was talking about earlier, in terms of how smooth and fine and opaque these are, and I think the Charlotte Tilbury one does feel less shimmery than the Persona Cosmetics one. I think it's more subtle. It's more of a sheen satin, rather than a metallic glitter formula, but they're equally opaque and soft. Too bad their Persona one does not have another color story that appeals to me. They have the 2, which has a bunch of like jewel tones and golds. I'm definitely repurchasing this palette once I run out of it. And then this one is really, really beautiful. I've been playing with it a lot recently, just seeing what I can do with it. It's mostly shimmer. There's only 1, 2, 3 mattes in this 12 pan palette, and that may be a problem for some people, but it's a holiday palette, so and none of these are glittery. None of these shades are like chunky glitters, which I do highly appreciate when it comes to needing to use eye palettes, usually on a work basis rather than on a going out basis. And the reason I own so many palettes is that I can justify it because I use it every day for work. But yeah, so on that note, is the Pat McGrath Celestial Divinity palette that came in the mail yesterday. I was incredibly excited because this is my first Pat McGrath palette. Pat McGrath was having a 25% sale on their website, so I bought this and a couple other things. As I mentioned previously, this Versus palette is on its way to me as we speak. But this one was the kind of their holiday palette from 2020 with 18 shades. Some beautiful colors, some really wonderful purples and oranges and pinks and greens, blues, just kind of like a wonderful jewel-toned rainbow with a lot of kind of duochromy, or just colors with a little bit of a shift and interesting glitter formula. I mean, these are all metallics, they're not glitters, but like, I just like using the word glitter because you can see the chunks of color literally on your eyes, and they kind of shimmer in the light differently. I'm trying to develop a way of figuring out which of these shadows can I use, more at work. I think some of the unidimensional shimmers I can put on, majority of the lid with a deep smoked out color. I just really loved how it looked. I'm excited about this. I did a cool, like, fun purpley eye look today because it's freaking Saturday and I can look like however I want on a Saturday. I don't regret getting this. It's not usually my style. The colors of this really appeal to me. And actually one thought I had when I was like playing with this and swatching it yesterday and this morning was that a lot of these shadows remind me of the obviously the formula is different, but like the ColourPop Super Shock shadows, they are so multi-dimensional. The ColourPop ones also are very glittery. There's a lot of larger chunks, but they often are multi-dimensional. They have like different colored glitter in there. And one of my favorites, I think, is called Cricket. It's like a deep purple brown, and it's got like a rainbow glitter, so like all sorts of colored glitters in there. But yeah, some of these are like that as well. So that's that. And these just came in the mail today. So there's a lot of eyeshadow palettes. And as I told you, there's still 3 more. All of them I am very excited about. I keep checking my front door to see if they've arrived. And this is my first Mothership palette. Like, can you believe it? This is like the ultimate moment for me. But let's hold off this unboxing. Like, I only opened it and looked at it for like a brief 5 seconds before I started filming this video. So I'm gonna like technically unbox this with you guys. So I'm gonna unbox this one. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Starry Eyes to Hypnotize holiday palette from 2019, I believe, but they still carry it because I think people liked it so much, and I got it because I love this guy so much. Look at these. Obviously the packaging is beautiful, and this is so pretty. Okay, let's remove this plastic thing. Yeah, so I like this one because it's got some neutrals, some pinks, and then it's got like a grungy gray, and then this like deeper bluish thing, and then a black, I think. And I'm hoping that all of these, you know, formulas are going to be the same as this guy here. So I'm gonna swatch this green one here. Let's see, is it that same formula? Yeah, it is. It's a nice grayish green, like a khaki green. And it's got that sheen, but not like, and some of these do look a little, you know, more glittery than the others, such as this Seduce Glow one up here, was more glittery without a base color. And I think that's okay. I think given how muted in terms of shine these other colors are, this one, I don't mind the other, having a couple of colors that are more topper shades, but it has a nice shift to it. So I think I'm going to like these. I don't want to swatch all of them because I want to keep it nice and pristine and beautiful for now until I, you know, really crack into it one of these days. Okay, this is the moment of, you know, truth here. I've been, ever since the 25% sale online for Pat McGrath happened recently, after I bought this, I became obsessed with watching Pat McGrath review videos, specifically the ones where people rank their Mothership palettes. Like, okay, the Divine Rose seems like the most neutral, easy to use everyday palette that I'm gonna get a lot of use out of. So I went with this one, but then I kept staring at Subversive and Midnight Sun because they were like kind of this like muted rainbow. They have like all sorts of colors, so that's coming, and I will do more of like a recent eyeshadow purchase update with you guys where I'll go over this guy, this guy, this guy in a little more detail, and the 3 other ones that I'm getting in the mail soon. So I'm really excited. I know it's not a new palette, it's been out since like 2018, but people love this one. People also love the Divine Rose 2. I think many people like that one more because it's more colorful. And as you know already, I am not a super colorful person. This is the box for it. As people have talked about a billion times, beautiful box with the names of the shades in here and like a cardboard case thing. I will probably keep this and keep the palette in here just because it's so pretty. This is really heavy. Yeah, I mean, I knew that when I was holding this, but like, this is really heavy. This is like, you know, a good couple, like a pound and a half, I would say. And then this, it's got this black lacquer packaging. I'm going to take this plastic off with you guys here. So let's peel that off. Oh, wow, that's pretty. That's very pretty. Sorry, they're just initial reactions. Let's This lasts for 18 months apparently. I hope it lasts longer than that because I spent a whole ton of money on that. But it's got a nice mirror people have talked about. Let's peel the mirror thing off. Okay, and there's the palette. I know it looks very muted in this camera. What I really wanted to do was just kind of play with a couple of shadows here. I wanted to touch this guy. This is the VR Rose Venus. I think it's like a pinky golden shift to it. Can you see that? But anyways, so I'm going to touch that guy. Ooh. See how that feels. Yeah, it's got a lot more gold than I would think than pink. That's going to be a really pretty like topper shade situation. That's really pretty. I like that a lot. It's very thin. I like that. I like the fine texture of the shadow. It's not chunky. If anything that you learn about me today is that I don't like chunky glitters. Is funny. The Astral Solstice. This is like a glitter. Ooh, very flaky, but very shiny. Very hard to see in this camera, but oh my god, that's kind of fun. Okay. Definitely this is the epitome of chunk. This shade right here. You can feel the chunk, like literally you can feel the texture. But I don't mind it because it's not part of a color. I think you can layer it on top of something. This golden one, refined gold 002. Oh, that's a nice gold. That's like not like a super yellow gold. It's actually a very it's like warm, a little bit peachier gold than I would have expected, and I think that's very wearable with the rest of this eyeshadow palette. Also very fine shimmer. And then the last kind of specialist shade is the Iridescent Pink 003. Very fine texture. Oh my god. Ooh, that's really fun. Okay, this one's like an iridescent pink. I have to say this is like one of the coolest eyeshadows I have played with to date. And obviously my collection is not small, but also not, gigantic. But dude, this pink, I wish you could see what I'm seeing in real life right now. But it's like it's exactly what it says. It's an iridescent pink. And I can see that being a really cool feature of an eyeshadow look. Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm like kind of understanding where the hype is coming from with these palettes, especially with regard to the special shades. I'm gonna skip the mattes because mattes don't really excite me very much, but let's try like this. Very fine, good. This one, also very fine. Fine, and I mean like, like a fine as in very not glittery chunky, and yeah, this is great. I really like these shimmers, and that's really what matters in this palette because that's what we're here for, right? That's really what we are here to play with. I'm a little sad that I kind of ruined the beautiful like quality of these shadows by touching them, but obviously they're here to be used. It looked really neutral and boring on camera, on TV, on YouTube, but I think seeing it in person, playing with in person, and just feeling these four shades kind of, yeah, I understand the hype now. So initially I was worried that I had bought these and I was gonna hate them because they were gonna be so boring and ordinary, but I think these are the shimmers that are in here are quality that I do enjoy. And then the special shades that they have in the kind of the four ends here on every Mothership palette is very special. The only one that I might not use as much is the topper shade, but I think I might be speaking too soon. So I think all these colors complement each other really well. I'm really, really excited to start using these. Have a good weekend. Hope you all are staying safe and well. We'll see you next time.